Hello and welcome to Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make New Haven tick. New Haven would tick a lot less if we didn't have choices in politics. And even though we're a blue city, we're so many more Democrats than other parties, we have a lot of independents, some Republicans, and we do still have a Republican Party. John Carlson is the chair of the Republican Town Committee. He's run for mayor and lots of other stuff. I know Board of Ed, maybe Alder.
Alder, state rep.
State rep. He's done it all. He's going to tell us today what it's kind of like when you don't give up in the wilderness. Is that a fair way to say it? Never say die?
Never say die, but it gets frustrating.
All right. Why don't we move the mic closer to you, John? And how's that? And just make sure you're leaning closer so we can hear you well.
How's that?
That's excellent. So, John Carlson, there was just the Democratic primaries, a bunch of them in New Haven on Tuesday night, no Republican primaries. What did you think, seeing the Democrats kind of have arguments within themselves about who should run and picking a candidate?
I kind of like to see discourse. So the more candidates involved in the process in New Haven, the better it's going to be for New Haven overall. So it was good to see. It wasn't good to see that there weren't any Republican candidates or primaries in the city. Well, for a gubernatorial, I'm actually glad there's not a primary. But I thought it was interesting. Pat Dillon, I wasn't overly surprised by that race. I mean, she's done nothing. She claims to have done things, but really she was just a rubber stamp vote for the Democrats since 1984. It's ridiculous. I was a freshman in high school, 1984. Think about all the things that have changed since 1984, and yet.
So they're having a generational argument, as is the Republican Party nationally.
Well, nothing about age. It's just we have term limits for president. We should have term limits for every other office for the same reasons.
And the argument there is that, separate from people being on so long for decades, that takes you a while in office to kind of get better at the job and know how things work. And that just about when people know how things work, they get thrown out for term limits. Like the Tea Party said, term limits, term limits. Then when they got elected to Congress, they stopped being for term limits because after they were in 3 or 4 terms, they said, now we're getting a sense how this thing works.
Well, yeah, but in some ways, you're probably better off not knowing how everything works. And then you might have more discourse and people actually working to solve problems for everyday people.
So the argument there is that you become part of an establishment and removed from people.
Yeah. Listen, how many times over the years have New Haven Democrats told me, before I became chairman, because by that time they had given up, John, why don't you just run as a Democrat? You'll get in, and then you can do what you want. Well, I'm sure that's one of their lines for everybody out there, right? But who gets in and does what they want? Once they get in, they do what they're told. Some people get addicted to the power, and they want to maintain it. So they do what they're told, and they don't ask questions.
Do you think that's happening with Republicans nationally with their president?
No, I'm talking New Haven.
I know you're talking New Haven. Democrats. Do you think people are scared to go against Trump when they believe something like no wars in Iran, or they're not against
tariffs?
There's
plenty of people that go against Trump.
Okay.
There's plenty of discourse in the Republican.
So tell me about November in New Haven. So now the primaries, people often feel that there's a Democratic primary. That's the real election. Because how many Republicans we got registered now? It's like 5 to 1, 10 to 1?
3,200, I believe.
Versus how many Republican Democrats?
Well, it used to be 15 to 1. So now I believe it's 11 or 12 to 1.
And then you have a lot of independents who tend to vote Democrat.
Unaffiliated are a lot.
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems in New Haven that I see is people they're just not interested in politics. They don't believe
especially
that
local.
It makes a difference.
Yeah.
But if all of those people voted, you'd have change, you'd have discourse, and New Haven would become a better city as a result.
Which is why we want to have
politicians fighting for their office.
Which is why we want to have a Republican Party in New Haven, because we want there to be choices so people are hearing different ideas and they get more interested, they get involved. Like if there's no real elections, why would they be interested in the election if it's only one candidate and everybody agrees?
The Democrats basically do whatever they want right now. Let's take, for example, they passed 4-year terms for alders. I forget the percentage, but it's probably 20-25% of alders don't make a 2-year term. It's fairly high, right? I mean, just look at the past. Right now, there's two. It
was terrible. They put in the 4 year. What they did is that was the deal for the alders to go along with having 4-year terms for mayor. the idea was one, a 4-year term for mayors, like executive, you need 4 years to get things done. But like at the state, like in Congress, you need those 2-year terms for the legislators to keep them in check.
Alliker's been in how many years now? 8?
He's going to be 8, yeah.
He's in 8 years. What's he gotten done?
Mm-hmm.
How is New Haven better in any aspect?
So then your challenge then is to find people.
We have more bike lanes and more speed humps.
So your challenge is to find people to run.
Challenge in New Haven for us is finding candidates. We have one candidate right now, Anthony Acri, running for District 97.
And he's run a bunch of times for things. So he's running in the 97th General Assembly District. So Wilderley's Bermuda's won a primary.
Bermuda's beat.
And that's the east side of town for Al Paleo's old seat because he runs this. So you did find Anthony Acri. He lives in the Cove. He's a really nice guy. He's a very personal guy.
Very nice guy, business owner, been in the city over 50 years.
So he's running again.
Concerned with what's happening. It's a three-way race.
Oh, yeah?
Darlinghouse is
that's right. They got the green. That's a great race.
So it should be interesting. Issues, there will be discourse. Hopefully there's a couple debates. They'll have 3 different viewpoints, and voters will be forced to make a decision.
And what kind of issues are big
on the party, but based on policy?
And what are the big issues on the east side?
Well, the airport, but people are divided over that.
Yeah, where's the Republicans on the airport?
I'm more of an environmentalist, so I don't like that all the studies weren't done and followed, in my opinion.
If you can come a little closer to the mic. Yeah.
I think more has to be done for environmentally. New Haven has one of the highest asthma rates in the country, I believe, but definitely in Connecticut. All that jet fuel and everything else is only going to further that and expand it. So we definitely have to do more from an environmental standpoint. But I feel like everybody thinks the East Shore is some separate entity. They have the same problems that the rest of us have. Crime, lack of police patrols, noise, and some of them like the airport. It's brought along its own problems with parking and everything else for some of the neighbors.
And historically, the Republican Party used to be more of a business party, and business in New Haven was always going for the airport, and it was like the environmentalists were against it, right? So like traditionally in New Haven, the business people wanted the airport because they thought that was going to create more jobs. That could be challenged because when the airport expanded, it was actually for leisure travel, not business. But are there Republicans besides, I know you had one guy out there who ran for state rep, John Sorello, who was in favor of the airport. Do you have others who are in favor of the airport, or is it mostly vote Republican if you didn't like the airport, like in the last Alder 2 races?
Listen, I don't want to sound hypocritical, but every Republican, I'm sure, in New Haven will go to Florida via Tweed. So I don't say we're totally anti-airport, but I think it's probably big enough as it is. Probably have to limit the flights. People don't need to be woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning or midnight. Kids have to go to school. We have to make sure everyone's safe. Parking's a problem. So I think it's expanded enough the way it is.
And then the argument that the FAA made, and that was judge said was okay, was that with the expansion there'd be fewer flights. It wouldn't be as noisy and it wouldn't be as late because they'll be able to fly certain planes that have more people in them.
Yeah, how'd that turn out?
I don't know. We don't know yet. They haven't expanded the airport.
Oh, it seems that was the original argument too. But there are more flights. My brother lives in the East Shore. So
you're saying build it, they'll come. If they make it bigger, they'll just get more flights.
Yeah, they're gonna. If they expand it more, there's gonna be more flights.
And
let's not be naive and say, oh, if we expand it, there'll be less flights. Okay, come on.
That's a good point, John.
You'd have to be naive to believe that. I have a bridge I can sell you in Brooklyn.
We were looking for a bridge in Brooklyn. The one now is very crowded. You had all those like hipsters riding their bikes on it.
If we expand the airport, there'll be less flights. No, I was at my brother's. So my brother lives in the East Shore a couple weeks ago in the morning, and 20 minutes I was outside his house talking to him. 3 planes right over his house.
How loud was it?
It was fairly alarming to me. He's used to it, so people acclimate to it.
Did he know there was an airport when he bought the house there?
Oh yeah. He bought the house in 1990 or something.
So some people say you knew there was an airport. You knew they were talking about expanding it.
Well, I remember I had an uncle right across from the airport, and I remember as a small, a toddler, not even in kindergarten, go over his house, and you had the little planes. That was it. There were no jets or anything else flying out of that, so everybody was comfortable with that. But like you said, you bought a house next to an airport. What did you expect? but people certainly don't expect it to keep expanding and expanding and becoming JFK. So they have an argument too. Yes, I did buy.
I agree.
I bought next to an airport, but it's like saying you bought next to.
Well, I'm near the I'm near the Yale Bowl.
The
so
old,
people don't like
the old stadium in West Haven.
Well, I have the old
and now it's Yankee Stadium.
Well, now right. Okay.
I mean,
so I'm by the Yale Bowl, and some neighbors don't like it when there are concerts like the Western Music Bowl. I'll just tell you that I really like it, even though I don't go to many concerts. I actually like hearing the music out of my
you're
back.
a music guy.
Yeah, I am a music guy.
I know that. Anybody who watches this show knows you're a music guy. Come on. So yeah,
I see your
people
point.
enjoy the music, but they're not in my backyard.
I see your point about the airport.
But the issues are many more than the airport.
Right. So you said like crime,
affordability,
crime.
They have one, I believe, patrol that covers the entire East Shore all the way to Route 80.
So how would you address that as a Republican who doesn't want taxes to go up? How would you get more police coverage on the East Shore?
Well, we need more police, obviously. We need more police on the streets, not necessarily in the station or in substations or wherever. You go to any event, there's dozens of police there. So you're telling me you can have 20 police in this location, but there's not enough to do extra patrol in the shore or in the hill. And listen, I live in the hill. We want more police presence. And I think we want to see police.
And people do want that.
They are a deterrent to crime is a police officer.
Now, are you confident that most of the people are doing stuff that we don't need done when they're not on the street? Or what about like people who investigate homicides or going after rashes of robberies, like detectives or people who do child abuse cases?
Well,
I mean, that's what those other people are doing.
It's funny because if your car gets broken into, right, they won't even fingerprint it. They won't even bother. So, yes, we want murders solved. Are they solving them? A lot of them aren't solved. So I don't want to take away a detective investigating homicide to go patrol something. But if we have more patrols, maybe the homicide doesn't happen to begin with.
And your point's well taken. So other cities is even worse. When I was out in Oakland, I couldn't believe that they just kind of laugh if you call in about a car being broken into. Like, are you kidding? Or someone came in and stole something from your house? Okay. But that is a personnel issue. Like, even though you're saying not to solve more crime, having fewer detectives would not solve more homicides. You're right that if we had more police out preventing crime, you would have fewer things to investigate. But you still don't have crimes to investigate. So the issue is you're saying we need a bigger police department. And how do you pay for that?
How do we pay for it? Well, one, we could get all Yale and all the other property owners that aren't paying taxes to pay their fair share, as my Democrat friends would say. It's funny
that Ryan Fazio's running on that for New Haven.
It's not funny, but it's funny if you go back 10 years or so, maybe 15, 40% of New Haven property was off the tax roll. Now it's like 60 or higher. So you can't just keep begging Yale for money. I mean, we have to redefine what a nonprofit is. If you ask the average person on the street what a nonprofit is, they're just, it's somebody, they're there to help people, not to make money. But if you examine the nonprofits, it's not really what they're doing.
And I think a lot of
CEOs are making $500,000, $1 million or more. And look like the United Way, 85% or more of the money you give them goes to them.
And as to your point, Yale has a $44.1 billion endowment. So they're not a little struggling nonprofit like a church.
Yeah.
They do a lot of things that isn't public service.
And people say, well, what about the churches? Church is a different story. So obviously, you
could write the law.
Write the law so it fits places like Yale.
And there are Democrats and Republicans who agree with it. And
it's ridiculous.
Ryan Fazio, your governor candidate, is proposing that you write a law for the largest nonprofits, the hospitals and the universities, basically, that have billions of dollars that you or hundreds of billions of dollars.
Think about how in the leftists, so let's tax the billionaires, tax the trillionaires, tax this one, tax that one.
Wait, that one is not the same as billionaires and trillionaires. They are a category of themselves. They're like Yale personified.
But Yale they have billions of dollars.
I agree. Yeah.
And they're off the hook. And all they have to do is take a building and put a classroom in it. And then claim that it's
based on laws
service.
passed hundreds of years ago when they were a tiny little Christian college.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's change the law.
So Republican in New Haven partly means tax Yale. get more cops.
Yeah.
What else does it mean to be a Republican in New Haven?
Really, I feel like we're the beacon of light for democracy and to keep the republic alive. You have to listen. Problems only get solved with
That's
discourse.
a big role. Yeah.
And when you have everybody just going along, following their leader, whoever it may be, following their party blindly, doing what they're told, there's no discourse. So I'm sure this has happened to you. It's happened to me many times, right? You have an idea. You think, oh my God, it's brilliant, right? And then you think about it for a few seconds. And you go, oh my God, that won't work.
That definitely happens to me on Sunday morning after Saturday night.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But what happens with New Haven Democrats and politicians, they have a dumb idea. Everybody in the room tells them, yeah, it's great, let's do it. And they do it. It has unintended consequences. And then they don't do anything, and they blame something else for the problem. And then they don't solve anything. I mean, listen, be a New Haven Republican means we're not at fault for anything here. Democrats have run the city.
But you haven't put up candidates to challenge them. So you are at fault for that.
I've run.
You've run. You're not at fault, John Carlson.
So
you've run for everything.
We're putting up a fight.
But you haven't convinced people to vote for you.
Not yet.
But you will.
No, I probably will not.
Wait a second. Don't say that.
I'm probably done running.
You're giving up? Then don't give up,
No,
John
I'm not
Carlson.
giving up.
You're not even 60 years old.
I'm looking
what the hell?
for candidates.
You're not even old enough to be president yet.
If you're out there and you want positive change in New Haven, contact us. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, NewHavenRepublicans.com. We need change. If you're living in New Haven, you know we need change. So come and be a part of the change. Every politician needs to be challenged. The Board of Alders, the mayor, everyone needs to have to step up, explain what they're doing, why they did it, how it's helping, and stand by their record. 30 alders. How many went unchallenged? They're not explaining anything to anybody. They're just doing what they're told. Like you said, with the 4-year terms. Oh, you want a 4-year term? Okay, we want a 4-year term.
It's like one of the worst ideas. That I will say was one of the worst ideas for in a long time. Like, there's a reason that the president's 4 years and Congress is 2. There's a reason the governor's 4 years and the legislators are 2. If you need the executive to have a little longer time to put plans in place, you need the people to be able to elect someone to watch over them and have some say every couple of years about if you think things are going in the right direction.
And look, how many alders don't make their 2-year term? Now they're going to have a 4-year term. We're going to have, 2 special elections for alders this year? They may go on a challenge.
So
they may not have challenges.
John Carlson, GOP town share. Can you give me a few more specifics? You gave me the big picture. Being a Republican in New Haven means you're a beam of light. You're giving other choices. You're going to tax Yale. You want more cops. You're going to have an idea, some skepticism about expansion of the airport. But what are some of the specific ways that being a Republican gives you a different perspective on the city? Specifically, things you would do different. Schools or taxes or what tax?
I am a public school teacher, but I am in favor of school choice. The schools in New Haven, as you see, are in total disrepair, as evidenced the teachers union president, Leslie Blateau,
who's your neighbor,
and an alder posted about the deplorable conditions of the schools and all this mold and things that are going on unrepaired and everything.
Yeah.
And it's still not getting done. So when you only have one party rule, there's no oversight. There's no oversight.
So what would you do different? You just have more oversight by having
hold people accountable. No one's held accountable.
And how do you do them? How do you hold the schools accountable for conditions schools?
You reprimand people. You write them up. You fire them. You replace them. I mean, mold, a leaky ceiling is pretty obvious to see, right? You and I can go in there and say, "Yeah, the ceiling's leaking, and there looks like there's mold up there." Okay. We have somebody that can fix the roof, right? Call them, fix the roof. 6 months later, it's still leaking.
You saw that more than 6 months in Cross. They don't going to pull for another summer because
Okay, so more than 6 months.
It took more than 6 months to get a bid out.
If you're leaking, how long is your house going to be moldy?
I don't want a moldy house.
Exactly. But if you had a roof leak, how long would it last?
I don't want a roof leak. If
you had one, how long would it take to get it fixed?
Hopefully a week, less.
A week or less. Okay. Meanwhile, Cross is
going on another year.
A year. It's unacceptable.
So,
But if you're reelecting the same Democrats to office, you're approving that. And if you're not voting, you are voting. You're saying the status quo is okay.
So now, if you want to give them choices, would school choice be another example that New Haven Republicans generally agree on?
Yes.
Now, what about the argument that takes further money away from the schools? This could be even harder for them to function well.
Well, I think a bigger problem is right here in New Haven, we don't even have equal funding as it is. When we ran last year, I found a website that listed the amount that each school spent. And there was differences of not, hundreds of dollars, not $1,000. There was a difference between, it was $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per student from the school that the mayor's kids went to and a school, say, in Fairhaven or in the Hill.
His kids go to school in Fairhaven.
But at one of the higher paying schools. Okay. Not one of the ones, it was one of the schools that got 20 or 24,000, 21,000 per person. And there's schools in the Hill and in New Hallville and Fairhaven, they get 13,000.
So you'd want more equalized. You want more schools.
Of course.
Well, that's
every student deserves an equal opportunity to get an education and a quality education.
And that's a larger question that came up. In
every student should get the same services, the same materials, access to the same programs. What are we doing?
But
New Haven has one of the lowest test scores in the state. Not 1 year, repeatedly, every single year. You have what is it? 1 in 5 students reading at grade level in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. 1 in 4, 1 in 6 doing math. If you don't, any study shows, Paul, that by 6th grade, you can't read on grade level. Your outcomes for life go drastically down. Negative things, the percentage increase. Like you're more likely not to graduate. You're more likely not to go to college. You're more likely not to finish high school. You're more likely to wind up in jail. But what's being done about it? Every year, it's not, you have a school, you have a program that every year is failing. Every year, only 1 in 5 kids can read. It's the same thing like with the roof leak. Why aren't you fixing it? And if it's not fixed, then the people in charge are at fault because it's their job to get it fixed. The mayor is the leader of the city. Every city employee works for the mayor, in essence. If they're not doing their jobs, who's holding them accountable? It has to be the alders, the mayor, their supervisors. Accountability. It's lacking in New Haven.
John, you teach in Bridgeport. Where do you teach?
4th grade.
What school?
Winthrop.
And is that a good school?
Yeah.
How's it compare to New Haven schools?
Oh, much higher test scores.
Winthrop in Bridgeport regular public school. What do you see different in the school you teach at every day and in your classroom? Like, why aren't you teaching in New Haven? Why do you want to commute to Bridgeport?
Well, we have originally I got hired in Bridgeport. So kind of a long story, but I didn't go to school traditionally, like right out of high school to college. I went to Eli Whitney. I studied carpentry, got a job in construction. Then I went to school part-time.
And you grew up where? You grew up in City Point?
Yep, in the Hill. So I went to school part-time, no time, full-time, as I could afford it, and life allowed me and whatever. So I finally got my teaching degree. I was 29 years old. I already had a daughter. I was already married. My first daughter was a preemie. She was born 3.5 months premature, spent 3.5 months in the NICU at Yale Hospital.
That must have been harrowing.
Did a great job. Was 23 ounces she was. Wow. And they gave her, they said it was 50-50 whether she'd live at that point. Oh, yeah. 12, not even 12 inches long. 20, going on 29.
She's
perfectly healthy, normal.
She a teacher?
God. No. She got a marketing degree.
Right. You could use her help with the Republican Party, just to be honest.
So when I graduated, New Haven had taken out family medical. I don't know if you remember this, for 2 years for new teachers. So I had a wife and kid. I was about to have another kid. I couldn't work 2 years without having family medical. So it was insane. So and New Haven did that as a cost-saving measure. So I applied to Bridgeport. Wonderful staff, great school. Liked it there. Got used to the commute. And here I am 26 years
I guess
later,
where you live, you're right near the highway entrance. Although you get some bad traffic with Fairfield County, right?
Yeah, but so New Haven did that as a cost-saving measure. Didn't last long because couldn't get new teachers only fresh out of college who didn't need family medical. So they quickly changed that. But meanwhile, they don't solve the actual problem of spending in New Haven. Like central office, any teacher in New Haven will tell you, including the union president, there's so much waste. Take that money, put it in the classrooms.
How
put it
much
into
specific?
kids.
I always think that. What specific positions would you like? Some of those are grant-funded positions that oversee how the grants are spent.
They have. How many extra positions are there in New Haven in central office? I don't know because I haven't.
But give me like an example. One person does a job.
How many superintendents do you need? Assistants.
So you don't
publicists. How many people do we need there?
Well, you don't think they need a publicist to give information to the public about what's happening in schools? Schools closed when you can apply for stuff.
No, yeah, you need a secretary and you have yourself. Listen, the current superintendent's all over social media. She doesn't need a publicist.
But you do need to get public information out. You need to let the public know what's going on in schools.
She has a website.
But who's going to run the website?
Well, the city runs the website. It's public's New Haven Public Schools website. She can disseminate information right there.
But who's going to do it?
Every parent. Not who did it 10 years ago.
Well, you and I post on the web, but most people.
Not a publicist.
That'd be another part.
But she's all over social media. She can do it on social media. She does it herself. I mean, let's not say she needs a publicist. And then the publicist makes more than the average school teacher. So if I'm going to apply to New Haven, let's see. Do I want to make 40-something thousand being a New Haven public school teacher or 80,000 being the superintendent's publicist? I mean, come on.
So, Sean Carlson, I think most people would agree with you that you need more than one party. I think a lot of Democrats would agree with you, included in that. One challenge for you as a Republican is that it's a very toxic brand in New Haven, not just because of Donald Trump, but it's conservative. And New Haven has become a much more liberal city than when you were growing up, right? America has become much more blue versus red, right? And so a lot of people...
the electoral map would beg to differ.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah, the presidential election, virtually the entire United States is all red.
What?
It's all red. All the counties are red. The only blue areas are Connecticut, the Northeast, and California.
But in Connecticut, every congressman, I'm saying every first of all,
Connecticut. Connecticut.
No, but half the country, close to half the country elects Democratic representatives, and half the country, a little more, a little less, does Republicans.
So half is not a majority, Paul.
Okay. In any case, you're in New Haven.
So New Haven Sean,
is New Haven. It's a hard sell.
Liberal.
It's a hard sell to sell Republican.
Yes.
It used to be easier. You used to elect some people. As like the rest of the country, we've become much more in our camps, right? And people worry about the label much more than they used to. We used to elect Republicans in New Haven, and some of them were quite liberal, like Ross Berman, Jonathan Einhorn, right? They would never be Republicans today, right? So how do you deal with that? If everyone agrees we need a second party, but no one's voting for Greens either, but Greens are more like of the political views of some of the people.
Well, I think.
How do you sell your party when your politics are out of step with the majority?
I don't think they are, though. They're not out of step.
They might not be out of step with anything you said here.
People want good education, low taxes. People want their lives to be affordable. People want law enforcement. People want good jobs. That's not out of touch. That's a majority. Those are all majority issues.
So then how come?
So the only way we differ on how to reach them. Now, you have to have discourse. You have to have it.
We're agreeing on that
right now.
So why is it?
So you need people going at it. Even if we had even a baby step for New Haven. If you're out here in New Haven, you live in New Haven. Listen, and you can't get past labels: Democrat, Republican, Green, working families, which is an oxymoron. But
you don't think working people are
they're for anybody but working families. They're communists, socialists.
They're not
Come
communists.
On. Yeah. Working Families Party. Nice name, though. Gives the illusion you're actually for working families, but it was up for them. Nobody would work. Everybody would be supported by the government.
But they're for unions. I mean, that's basically.
I'm not anti-union. I'm a union member.
The Working Families Party is funded by and people by unions.
Well, they're far left, Paul. They're far left.
Yeah, they are.
But listen, bring your issues to the table. Let's all talk about it. Let's solve a problem. Let's not say, I'm not talking to you because you're a Republican. I'm not talking to you because you're a liberal Democrat. No. Here's the problem. Wilbur Cross. Prime example. It's not a Democrat issue. It's not a Republican issue. The roof leaks. There's mold. The bathrooms are dirty. It's
And your
not
answer,
a Republican
and
thing.
your
It's
answer
not,
that-
it's
your
not
an-
Republicans' fault because we have nothing
So
to
your
do at
answer
all
is
with
to
New
have
Haven
more
Public Schools.
parties, more ideas, there's more oversight, more
Listen,
choices.
we need discourse. We need two parties. We need maybe more than two parties. We need to have open.
So how are we going to get there? Now you've been trying
well,
hard.
right here, right now.
You've been trying.
If you're on the radio, you're on the website listening. Get this. Oh my God, it's a Republican out of your head. Go to our website. Go to our Facebook. See what we actually stand for, and be open-minded.
So you
come together and let's solve problems.
You've tried this harder than anyone else in New Haven to give us a second party.
Well, I'm
you've
fairly
run for mayor,
tenacious.
You've run for state rep. You've run for alder. You've recruited candidates. Do you feel discouraged as the person who's tried harder than anyone else in New Haven to give us an alternative to Democrats? Do you feel like it's going to happen? Do you feel like you're making progress?
At times, I do get discouraged. For instance, last fall, I was very disappointed in the mayoral election for many reasons. One, Steve Orozco, who I thought would have been a great mayor, lost the election. But more so, too, how he lost. I mean, basically, the needle wasn't moved much.
Every neighborhood, so you haven't elected anyone in what, like 20 years, right? For anything that's contested.
About 15.
That was in Arlene DePino. Was last, yeah.
Yep. State rep in East Shore.
Oh, state rep was 15? I thought that was more. Chris DePino was the
or
last
older.
state rep.
She was older.
Arlene DePino was last older.
Ago, yeah.
So there's 30 alders who've gone, you're 0 for 30 for decades. State rep, legislators 0 for 30 for decades. Mayor 0 for 30 since 1953. You want to move the needle. I think most of us want you to move the needle.
Get out there and vote.
Why aren't you moving the needle, John, when you look at it? Or are you? And I still think you get credit for showing up.
We're moving
you get
the needle
credit
slightly.
For trying.
We have more Republicans. There's still probably a few thousand people who are truly, really Republicans. But for years they said, "Oh, I want to have a say in the Democratic primary."
Well, that was 1979 when Ben DeLito brought all those people over with Joe DiMatteo.
I just talked to someone out petitioning last week for Anthony Acri, and the guy said, "You know what? I'm a registered Democrat."
Why does he have to? Why does he have to?
Because I want to vote. I want to vote in the primary.
Why is Anthony?
Anthony's petitioning for the independent line.
Oh, he's going to be both Republican and independent party.
Okay. Yep. So, and there's thousands of people like this guy. It's like, oh, I want to vote in the primary. So, we haven't had a Republican primary. One, it's difficult to get.
You just need a candidate, not a primary. Yeah.
Right. So, right. If I had a candidate in every ward, I'd be happy. I'd be ecstatic. But it's hard to get candidates. People don't want to run for many reasons. A lot of people they're not interested in politics. A lot of people are afraid of what their friends say, what people are going to say on social media, because there's a lot of hate out there.
So now,
and the hate usually
I
don't hate anybody for what you believe, what your politics are. Just let's solve a problem. We have Rosa DeLauro in office for also 30-something, 40-something years.
36.
What has she done for New Haven?
Well, she brought a lot of money.
She made herself rich.
Well, she made
her husband's company.
She didn't make herself rich. Her company, her husband separately is upholstered to Nelson Mandela, Tony Blair, Bill
rich.
Clinton.
What's her net worth?
That has nothing to do with her. Yeah, that's her husband's work. That's separate.
What has she done for New Haven, Paul?
She's brought amazing amounts of money for homeless services, for food banks, for all the nonprofits in town, and housing.
Anyone in that office could have.
I don't think you're right. She's the leading.
She brings nothing special.
I don't mean doing
it,
but John, she's the most powerful Democrat on the budget committee
right now. Yeah,
she's had the most say for years
right
where
now.
money goes.
So we have a choice. You have Chris Lancia for Congress. If you're out there listening, compare Rosa. Go on to ChrisLanciaForCongress.com. See what he's about. Open your eyes.
Okay, so you have two candidates: Chris Lancia, Republican, for Congress. You have 97th District Anthony Acri. Are there any other candidates for Republican offices in New Haven this year?
Well, all the top of the slate, who are all extremely qualified.
You've all had them on the radio here. You've been able to hear them. You can look them up.
Yeah. So, locally, we only have Anthony Acri running for District 97.
And Congress.
in Congress. And then,
So,
of course, top of the ticket.
Why weren't you able to get more people? And I don't mean to put you down. You try so hard, John, and I'm glad you're trying hard. I want you out there.
One of the things was not necessarily that I didn't try.
Of course you try hard.
No. Because of CEP financing.
That's Connecticut election program.
Yes.
Public finance.
If I run a candidate who doesn't have their complete heart into it, and is going to work their tail off to get the grant, I'm basically just handing money to New Haven Democrats. And even partially, as we've seen, I ran and got the grant. Orozco ran and got the grant. And we got 15% of the vote. So do I want to run somebody against
Roland Lamar or Tony Walker or Juan Candelaria?
Well, I do want to run against those people. They all have something in common. They're all horrible. But if I ran somebody against Winfield, right? Winfield gets $130,000 grant, roughly, plus the money he raised. If we don't run anybody against him, he doesn't get the full grant.
But you don't. But you haven't given the voters a choice if you don't run anyone against them. I think what you're saying, John,
we're still giving you a choice at the top of the ticket.
And plus,
that's where we really need change at the top of the ticket.
But most people would argue the way the Republican Party got powerful in the country was they understood you have to start with the bottom. They started taking over municipal and state houses.
Oh, we do. But we can't. That race right now is not winnable.
So you're saying that this is a very interesting question you're raising. Like, how many chases do you pick? If you just put people's names on ballots, you're saying it doesn't help you. You want to make sure they can.
I don't want to put just names.
You got to make sure that you got to make sure they can get the grant.
Legitimate candidate who's serious about running, wants to run, put their heart into it, and is going to go all out and do. But
now you're also saying if they only get 15%, it's not worth it. Can I argue that it is worth it because a lot of times people get elected, they have to run a lot of times to get their name out and get known.
So that's not exactly what I said. So it's not worth it financially for me to put almost $500,000 into the Democrat Party. So it's worth running candidates for, let's say, for instance, next year for alders. I'd like to run a candidate in every ward, bring the issues to light. Doesn't cost. It's not handing money over to the Democrats.
Okay, but I want to challenge this idea.
Let's say I put my name. Paul, let's bear with me. So let's say I put my name on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I cannot be both Senate seats and the 5 or half dozen state representatives, right? But I can put my name on the ballot for Senate 10, Senate 11, state rep 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, right? And hypothetically, I guess I could get the grant for every single one of those, right? Now, what would happen as a result of that? One, every New Haven Democrat would get a full grant, which would pretty much equal about $400,000 or so, a little more, right? I probably wouldn't get the grant in every office, right? Well, let's say I did. So let's say I put the equal money in. How would that look? Because everybody would know, well, he's not really seriously running. His name is on every ballot. So that would be detrimental to the party, not a positive.
But how do you not get to a place where you could win and be visible if you don't first run those other races where you get your name out?
We have. So people know we're here.
Yeah. But I guess I see your point about not wasting resources if you don't have a candidate who's really going to put in the time to get the money and just be out there. I see your point on that. And I see your point that if it's at all the races different because it's not as much at stake with the money and you're giving people a choice. But if a state rep's case, if you're not going to get that grant, it's not worth running. I get that. Right. What I don't get is about putting money in the pockets of Democrats. So if you run someone, they don't win, but you both get the grant. And the Democrat gets a lot of money.
If I put somebody who's basically just running in name only, they're just a name on the ballot.
I see what you're saying. I got that point.
The Democrat gets the grant.
So
we're not going to get the grant.
What do you lose by the Democrat getting that grant?
You're giving them.
But how does that hurt you?
You're giving them money to put in their campaign.
So then they wouldn't have had. But they win a race they would have won anyway. But if you're on the ballot,
they've popularized themselves
so you get
more because money. They put $30-something thousand into the campaign.
So for future,
they've ingratiated people because now they've used the money to hire people to work their campaigns. Where some of them right now, I don't think are raising any money at all.
So MAGA Harry writes in, Connecticut is too far gone to help it. Republicans should migrate to a red state, though I don't see him moving. Dems know what doesn't work, and they still do it. Okay, we're talking John Carlson,
He's
Republican
right so
Town Chair.
far.
Republican Town Chair John Carlson here on Dateline.
I can't argue.
John, how did you grow up Republican when you were growing up in the Hill?
So my parents were Democrats, but
What did they do for a living?
My father retired as a New Haven custodian.
Where?
Public school, Prince Street School.
He must have been proud when his son became a teacher.
He was. He was a World War II vet, Korean vet, Navy vet. Grew up West Haven and New Haven. My mother worked part-time many years. She was a lunch lady at Kimberly School, which is now gone. And she grew up in the Hill in Washington Avenue. And she lived, through her life, she lived all different places in the Hill. And the house is still there.
And they were Democrats?
They were Democrats.
Well, how did you become Republican?
But I had some uncles who were Republican. My uncle-in-law actually was a mayoral candidate, George Longyear.
I remember George
Well,
Longyear.
technically, he's not he was my
East
uncle.
Shore.
My uncle-in-law's brother.
He was a good guy.
So technically, no relation to me at all.
Yeah.
But my uncle used
Didn't
to come
he
over.
serve in office once as a state legislator?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So,
But he was like 60s and 70s, right?
yeah. Or maybe ran early 80s.
Early 80s,
maybe.
yeah.
But
I
I remember as a kid, I don't even remember all the political posters they used to staple to the telephone poles, right? Utility poles. And they'd be, you remember instead they'd be covered.
By the way, I'm going
Like
to
the
take your
first
photo.
10
when you talk.
feet, they'd
Don't worry.
be covered with just posters, right?
That's
And
when
we're
there was
out there playing,
competition, yeah.
and some guys came by, and we're looking at them, they're stapling up posters. And I said, what are you doing? And they said, oh, that's who you have to vote for. Well, we know you can't vote, but tell your parents they got to vote for this guy. So I said, why? They said, because he's a Democrat. So I said, what's a Democrat? So he said, a Democrat, you're a Democrat. You live on this street. So I'm like, I'm a Democrat. So, okay. So he says, yeah, the Republicans are for the rich. They're all only for rich people. And I must have been like, I don't even know, 8 years old. And I'm thinking, this doesn't even make any sense. If one party was only for rich people, I don't know any rich people. So there's way more poor people, middle class people than rich people. So if there was a party that was only for rich people, they could never win an election. Just, 8, 10 years old, you know that. But that's what New Haven Democrats did to grow the party in New Haven. They did several things in the 60s, 70s. One, if you needed your sidewalk fixed, they'd come and tell you, want your sidewalk fixed, you got to change parties. Change it over. If you were a possible candidate, they'd tell you the same thing they told me. Why don't you run as a Democrat? You'll win, and then you could do what you want once you're in there. And then through jobs. I mean, cronyism, nepotism.
When did you become a Republican?
Oh, because I agree with the platform.
When? Like, how old were you?
So
I'm thinking it's not 8 years.
I've changed. Originally I was probably 18. I probably registered Green Party.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. There was a Green. I'm trying to think. Was there a Green Party?
And then
that was 1984. You were 18. No, 86.
No, 86. So yeah, late 86. So 87.
Was there a Green Party then?
Well, no. So early 80s, I was a big Reagan fan. Reagan saved this country.
So you were conservative.
If you lived through it, you lived through the 70s. Carter ruined the country.
So you were conservative in college? I mean,
Reagan, I was a Reagan Republican. And I registered Democrat at one point because I had a brother-in-law who came to me with another way the Democrats get people to change parties. It was like an Alder election in the Hill. Oh, Joe's running against Bob. Joe's a bad guy. Bob's a good guy. You can't vote in the primary because you're not a registered Democrat. Switch so you can vote for him. And then afterward, you can change back. So what happens? People switch and then they forget. They never change back.
But you were conservative. You were Republican. When did you get involved in party politics?
So you and Jonathan actually got me involved in politics.
Jonathan
really.
Wharton.
Yes, Jonathan Wharton, previous Republican chair. because Republicans
Good guy.
weren't doing really anything in New Haven as far as I saw for years. And then I happened to see a story with you and Wharton was promising to run candidates in the
So we're
municipal
talking now,
elections.
like
probably 14,
2014,
15,
yeah.
16, so, somewhere around there. 13 to 16 range, probably.
Well, thank you for that.
So-
I feel good about that.
So I go, oh, that's great. So I contacted Wharton on Facebook. And I said, I have a neighbor who'd be a great candidate. He's a great guy. He's a good person.
You always want other people
involved
yeah.
in everything. And well, he's like that because listen, the last thing I wanted to be was a politician. But Chris Schaefer, I don't know if you're
I
familiar.
remember Chris.
Did a lot for the neighborhood. So I said, get him to run. He's a great guy. People like him. He works hard for the community. He's involved in everything.
I'm not sure he's candidate material though. He's a good guy.
Well, I
He's-
think
he's
he
the-
would be. But anyhow, and then I threw in, and then you know what? If he doesn't run, I'll run.
And then that.
Well,
so what have you learned
There
from
was
your
no
races?
way he was.
By the way,
every race you learn
by
something
the way, you
different.
are a very good candidate.
Thank
Just
you.
as a reporter, I'll tell you that
So
when
my
you run
first
for office,
race,
you're a very good
I
candidate.
was kind of naive. I ran for Alder. And to me, all the races, it's a neighborhood race, really. Like somebody who's supposed to be working for your neighborhood and be your representative in the city. So I campaign, I knock doors, I call people, I knock, whatever. Election day, I have my buddy with me. We're outside the polling station, the old boys club on Hollick Avenue. There's all these people, right? I'm like, who are these ladies? Like, they happen to be white, middle-aged women, right? The vast majority of them.
Tower,
Now I live in the hills, so
Tower
I'm like,
Lane.
no. So I'm like, who are these people? Like, I don't know all 1,600 voters, but I know a lot of them. I've never seen these people at all. So, I'm like, how you doing? I'm John. Nice to meet you. Who are you? Oh, we're here for our union sister, Dolores Clone.
Oh.
Where are you from? I'm from Clinton. Another from Guilford, from Madison, Branford. None of them were from New Haven, but she had like a small army out there working for her.
Oh, but not voting.
And then half of them didn't even know who she was. She walked right by him. I'm like, I was like, oh, is that her? Well, you said it was your union sister. I think you would know. You should be able to recognize her, right? So I lost that election, and it was eye-opening. And then I'm not easily discouraged, and I'm a competitor. So I'll run again. I'll run again in 2 years. So I got all these things done in the neighborhood. I got sidewalks fixed. I got speed humps put in, all kinds of safety measures. And I run. And then on election day, I have some Democrats. They come out of the polls. They got their backs to the other Democrats, and they're giving me the thumbs up. But they don't want the Democrats to see them be giving me the thumbs up. So that one was a lot closer, but I also lost. So I learned something new from that one too.
What'd you learn?
Well, I learned about absentee ballots in that one. And I also learned about the postcard that the city sends out, which is legal under Connecticut statute that says, take this and or your ID to vote. Now, listen, everybody has an ID. You need an ID to go to Costco, buy cigarettes,
But it's which
rent
ID?
an apartment.
It's which ID is the argument now.
Well,
If
a
they go back
postcard is
where
not
you
an
were,
ID.
but
Paul.
they're
I think
saying,
we can
saying
agree on that.
driver's license isn't good enough. They say you got to show your birth record and all
when
that
you
kind of stuff.
when you show up with a postcard, you mean to tell I question.
Do you
whether
think you
you're
would have? You think you would
honestly
have? How many votes would you?
legitimate voter.
How many votes would have been different?
Well, over 100 people voted with a postcard.
Mhm.
I'm not saying they were all nefarious, but
How many do you think really?
Question.
How? If you had a guess of those 100, how many people do you think really weren't living in the ward or weren't citizens?
probably a lot of them.
Really?
Yeah.
You really? Think
Everybody
that's
has an
hard?
ID. Paul, you can't rent an apartment without an ID. There's nothing that what. Name something you
But
don't
the
need an ID
argument now
for.
is about whether you need some birth record and all that kind of stuff.
I'm not asking for a birth certificate. Come on. Now you're just being facetious. We're talking about an ID. If it's acceptable at Costco, driver's license. My mother never drove a day in her life. She had the state DMV identification card. Everybody has an ID. Like, okay, now you're going to prove me wrong by finding the one person who doesn't have an ID, who's like an invalid and hasn't left the house or the hospital bed in 3 years, so they no longer have an ID. It's expired. But listen, everybody basically has an ID.
All right, so
you go to DMV, they register you to vote now. DMV,
which actually
you can't go to Costco.
Yeah.
Costco now you got to scan your ID to get in,
Right.
but to vote, I can show up with a postcard. It's ridiculous.
You also need a dispensaries and an ID.
There you go.
All right, there you go. So John Carlson.
So you have an ID. You have an ID for all those things, but you left it at home to go vote, but brought a postcard.
John Carlson, we are
It's
right.
questionable.
I really enjoy talking to you, John, and I appreciate that you're out there trying to give us choices in New Haven. There's no more important part of a democracy than to have free elections where we get a lot of different choices and ideas.
So last word, I guess.
Last word.
We do have a candidate, District 97 for state rep, Anthony Acri. You can learn more about Anthony at anthonyacri.com. Be open-minded, people, and get involved, because
And to get involved
if you're
in
not voting,
and
if
how
you're
do you
not
get
voting
involved?
right now, listen, you contact us on Facebook. You contact the Green Party if you want, but we need people to get involved.
So New Haven Republicans are on Facebook,
Oh yeah,
so they can find you there.
they can find me on Facebook. They can find me online, newhavenrepublicans.com. But listen, I'm not even saying only contact us. Contact your local Democrat ward chair. Contact anybody. Stop. By not voting, you're voting for what it is. Get involved in some way. Be open-minded. Make people explain to you what their plans are and what they've done while in office. Chances are these alders, they can't, because they don't even know what they're doing, most of them. They do what the mayor says, and a lot of them don't return calls. They need to be replaced. They have to be held accountable. We need accountability in the city. When you just let people get voted in time after time just because they have a D before their name, it's ridiculous, and they're not held accountable.
All right,
Find us on Facebook, online, newhavenrepublicans.com, and go to anthonyacri.com and learn about his campaign.
Thank you, John Carlson. Thank you, Harry Jones behind the controls. We're going to take it out the Afro-Semitic experience, performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day and all night long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.